Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wayfair Coding Academy's Python tutorial series. In this video, I'll be covering the Splat operator. I've actually mentioned this operator a little bit in videos covering advanced material on lists and tuples, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in this video. So what is the Splat operator? The character we use for the Splat operator is basically the same thing as the multiplication operator. It is the asterisk sign. And what the Splat operator is used for is to unpack lists, tuples, and dictionaries. And in this first example, I demonstrate how you use the splat operator to unpack lists and tuples. So we have two lists, A and B, and we have a tuple C. A contains the strings pilot name, ship type, and rank. B is a list that contains the string ship name, but then it also references variable A with the splat operator. What this will do is it will unpack the A list and put the elements into the B list. So when I print out B, it's going to show us ship name, pilot name, ship type, and then rank. And then C is just a tuple 1, 2, and 3. And then I have our first set of print statements here. Print B is basically going to print out the list in a string format, and we're going to have the square braces and everything when we do that. When we pass in a list or a tuple with the unpack operator into a print function, it will unpack the elements from the list or the tuple and just print out those elements. So we won't see the braces or the parentheses that we would normally see when we print out a list or a tuple. So when we print out A, we'll see the A list. When we print out B, we'll see the B list as I explained how it was going to appear. And when I print out C, we'll just have the numbers 1, 2, and 3. And then down here, I demonstrate how to use the splat operator for assignment. So I have the two variables D and E taking in variable C. Now, if you've seen from my previous videos, or you already have knowledge as to how tuple assignment works to other variables, basically what happens here is that when we assign a tuple to multiple variables in one line, it's going to automatically unpack the tuple and put it into those variables. However, normally we'd have to make sure we have enough variables to take in all of the elements in the tuple. If we only have two variables like you see here, and I have tuple C that has 3 elements, without that splat operator, we would get an error saying there's not enough variables to fully unpack the tuple. By putting the splat operator on E, we're telling Python to say, hey, assign the first element in C to variable D, but assign any remaining elements in C to variable E in the form of a list. So when I print out these variables here, we'll see that D has the element 1, and E will have a list containing elements 2 and 3. And so our first line is printing out B as a list. So we have the square braces and everything, and it's showing all the elements that are assigned to B, including the variable expansion from A. And then the second line, we have pilot name, ship type, and rank, and they're just separated by spaces. They don't have the commas, the quotation marks, or the square braces, because when we pass in a list or a tuple into a print statement with the splat operator, it unpacks those variables. So we're not getting all of those extra characters. Same thing when we print list B with the splat operator. We just get the elements that are space separated. And then same thing with the tuple C. We just get the space separated numbers. And then these last two lines here, as you can see, when we assign the tuple C to just two variables, D and E, with E having the splat operator, D will be given the value of 1, which is the first element, and then E will be assigned a list containing the remaining elements, which in this case happen to be 2 or 3. Now, when it comes to this situation here, the last variable does not have to be the one that has the splat operator. If I were to change this so that D has the splat operator instead, we would then see that D would be assigned a list of the elements 1 and 2, and E would just be assigned the elements 3. So if I rerun this, as you can see, this is changed to a list of 1 and 2, and this one has just changed to the element 3. So there's no placement restriction here as to which variable gets the splat operator. However, when you do this, there can only be one variable with the splat operator. And as a further demonstration of the placement of the splat operator, I'm going to add a fourth element to this tuple, and then I'm going to add a third variable to this assignment line. And we're going to give E the splat operator. So just to demonstrate that it doesn't matter if it's at the end or in the middle somewhere, the splat operator will work. And the red underline was basically indicating that, hey, there can't be two variables here with the splat operator. It doesn't like that. So we're going to get rid of the one on D. And then I'm going to add a printf statement. And then I'm going to rerun it. And then as you can see down here, D got assigned the value of 1. E got assigned a list with the elements 2 and 3. And F got assigned the value of 4. So it doesn't really matter how many variable assignments you're doing and which variable gets the splat operator. Python will handle it accordingly and make sure that all the variables get assigned properly. The splat operator can also be used on dictionaries. And this is where we learn that there are two types of splat operators, a single splat operator and a double splat operator. And when we use a single splat operator on a dictionary, it will unpack its keys. As you can see here, we have a dictionary A with the keys name, ship type, and ship name with the values Crozo, Cruiser, and Polaris respectively. And then we have the variable B, which is set equal to a list containing the variable A with the splat operator. What this will do is it will unpack the keys from dictionary A and store it into the list B. So when I print out B, we'll get a list of all the dictionary keys, and then down here in this for loop, we're going to loop through all the keys to access the values in the dictionary A. So there's our list of key values, name, ship type, and ship name. And then here are the values that correlate to each of those keys as we print them out. Now, as mentioned earlier, we also have the double splat operator, and this operator can only be used on dictionaries. The double splat operator serves a number of uses. The first is to merge two dictionaries together. As you can see here, I have a dictionary A and a dictionary B. A contains a name and a rank, and B contains a ship type and a ship name. And then Pilot will merge those two dictionaries together into a single dictionary. And as you can see here, I have a single dictionary that has the name, the rank, the ship type, and the ship name. Double splat operators are also used to unpack dictionaries into functions. This cannot be done with any function. For example, the print statement, it will not know what to do with you telling it to unpack a dictionary inside of it. However, you can use it to unpack a dictionary into a function that is designed to handle it. What happens when you do this is that it will unpack the dictionary in a way that it's going to assign the values to the parameters that match the names of the keys. So in this example here, I have a function called printPilot with the parameters name, ship type, and ship name. So when I unpack this dictionary into the function, Crozo will be assigned to the parameter name, Polaris will be assigned to the parameter ship name, and Cruiser will be assigned to the parameter ship type. And when it prints out the parameters inside the function, we get Crozo, Cruiser, and Polaris. And if I were to rearrange the key values here, and run it again, as you can see, it's still in the same order because it is matching the values of the keys to the name of the parameter. The double splat operator can also be used to do the reverse. As you can see here, I have a function called printargs that has a single parameter, kwargs, which is short for keyword args, and it has a double splat operator attached to it. And below where I actually call the function, as you can see, I am treating it as if it actually has parameters with these names. I am declaring that there's going to be a parameter name, and I'm assigning it the value Crozo. I am declaring that there is a parameter ship type and ship name as well that are assigned the values of Cruiser and Polaris. So when I run this, and these values get passed in, this is going to basically create a dictionary. Keyword args will be turned into a dictionary with the keys name, ship type, and ship name assigned the values with Crozo, Cruiser, and Polaris respectively. So when I run it, as you can see, we get a dictionary printed out. Now the splat operator can also be used to unpack tuples and lists into function calls as well. The difference between unpacking a list or a tuple versus unpacking a dictionary is that a tuple and a list will unpack the elements in the order that they are in the data structure. So in this example here, we have a function with the parameters name, ship type, and ship name. And then I have a list A that contains the elements Crozo, Cruiser, and Polaris. So when I use the splat operator to unpack A into the print contents function, Crozo will go to name, Cruiser will go to ship type, and Polaris will go to ship name because they are in the exact same order. If I were to move around the elements in list A, or if I were to move around the parameters in the function print contents, then when the actual print statements get executed, the results will be slightly different because it's based on the order that everything is in rather than matching keys to keywords. So when I run this, pilot name Crozo, ship type Cruiser, and ship name Polaris. And just to demonstrate what would happen if I move stuff around, I am going to move Crozo to go after Cruiser. And then if I run it again, the pilot name is now Cruiser and the ship type is now Crozo. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but this just is to demonstrate that if you're not careful in how you unpack the contents into your function based on the order of parameters or the order of what's in your list and tuple, it could mix your data up. So you have to be careful with that. And just like with the function parameter keyword args with the double splat parameter, we can have a parameter called args with a single splat parameter. These names are not set in stone, they're not special keywords. You could technically name them whatever, but the actual naming convention in Python is args and keyword args. Now with args, it pretty much works the same way as the previous example, pretty much in reverse. You can pass in a bunch of data into a function and it will get grouped together into a tuple in the same order that you passed them into that function. So in this example, I have variables A, B, and C. A is a list of numbers, B is a string Crozo, and C is the number 34. I pass them in the order of A, B, and C into print args, so that when we print out the args parameter here, it will print out a tuple with the list first, then the string, and then the integer 34. And then when I unpack the args tuple into 3 variables inside the function and print those variables out, we will get the individual elements inside that function. So when I run it, there's our tuple from up here. There is the first element, there's the second element, and then there's the third element as printed out here. Now, just like with function calls, we can use the splat operator to unpack data structures into an object call as well. Now, in this particular example, I am mostly doing the latter, but in the next example, I will show the former. So I've got a couple of parameters here. I've got name and ship type, and I've got ship type defaulting to shuttle. And then I specify args with 1 splat operator and keyword args with 2 splat operators. And you can absolutely do both. In fact, you likely have already seen this on your own before if you searched anything with Python related with objects and function calls and whatnot, where it just specify an args and keyword args. This is a very common thing to do. And so I have this pilot stored into variable P. We've got Crozo, which will be assigned to name. We've got Cruiser that will be assigned to ship type. And then I've got a $. I've got Earth, and then I've got an age equals 34 and a ship name equals Polaris. Now these 2 pieces of data right here, the $, and the Earth, will get stored into args because they are not being explicitly assigned to a keyword, they're just being passed in as additional parameters. Age and ship name, however, will be assigned to keyword args because they are explicitly being assigned to parameter names. So it's counting that as a keyword parameter argument. And then inside the pilot, when the data gets assigned, name will of course go to name, ship type will go to ship type, and then info T and info D will be assigned the values of args and keyword args respectively. So when I print all this out, we'll see the data as it should be represented. Args will be a tuple and keyword args will be a dictionary. So we got Crozo and Cruiser for the name and ship type, and then info T is the tuple with $, and Earth, and info underscore D is the dictionary that has age set to 34 and ship name set to Polaris. And then in this final example here, we're showing how a data structure can be passed into the object constructor and unpacked so that it's going to be assigned to all the attributes inside of the object. And I'm also demonstrating that this will work just as well with a data class. Now I haven't covered data classes yet, I'm going to cover those soon, but as a simple explanation for now, it's basically a decorator that allows me to not have to specify an init function for my class. And instead, I can just list the name of attributes that the class is going to have and that we would expect to be passed into the constructor, as well as their data types. So I'm specifying under this data class that we're expecting 3 variables to be assigned as attributes, name, ship type, and ship name, and they're all strings. And so when I pass in this dictionary info that contains the keys name, ship name, and ship type with assigned values, this will unpack these values into these attributes where they're supposed to be. Very much in the same way as with function parameters, we'll make sure it'll go to the right parameters. This will make sure they go to the right attributes of this class. So when I run it, when I print the name for the pilot, we get Crozo. When I print the ship type, we get Cruiser. And when I print the ship name, we get Polaris. And that's about it for this video on the Python Splat operator. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and if you did, be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment below to let me know what you think. And if you want to see more, head on over to the Wayfair Coding Academy channel to check out my other content. And while you're there, consider subscribing to the channel to stay up to date as new stuff comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.